What's up in War Eagle, y'all? It's your guy Ike Jones here inside the Auburn Express, powered by the War Report. And we are diving into the comments recently by Bo Wallace on Twitter. If you haven't heard about it, let's get into it and talk about it. Before we get into the conversation, make sure that you are sharing this content with somebody out there. Go ahead and hit like and subscribe on the video because you know you want to. And make sure that you are becoming a member of the War Report. Got some great membership stuff out here. But in case you haven't heard about it, Bo Wallace, former Arkansas, excuse me. But in case you haven't heard about it, Bo Wallace, former Ole Miss quarterback, took to his Twitter recently with some words in regard to Coach Hugh Freeze and how he felt about the coaching job that Coach Hugh Freeze does. And I just want to, take a look at the comments and then get your reactions on them. First and foremost, Bo Wallace begins, we're approaching the point that he's thrown so many QBs under the bus that maybe no one wants to play for him. His offense helped me tremendously put up numbers when I blew my shoulder out. But why is it someone else's fault every time there's a loss? But when there's a win, I watch the press conferences just to count how many times the word I is used. Appreciate what he did for me. My son wouldn't play for him, though. He continues, Auburn staffers calling my phone incoming. But that dude has never helped me a day in his life. It's always only about getting a win for him so he could collect his extra 100 racks a win. If y'all knew the medications and shots I was taking to get that man his money, you wouldn't believe they would let you walk on a field like that. And with that, I still feel the tires from the bus. He goes on to say, Bo's drunk. Nah, he's sober as could be watching tape. Just tired of this dude always blaming players every single time. Do your research on his offenses, excluding his time at Liberty. Look at the interceptions every QB he had play for him throws. At some point, when it happens over and over every year, you look in the mirror and not at the players to save face. And lastly, not going to sit here and fight with Auburn fans. Hitch your wagon to him and see what happens. I did it one time too. Holler at me in 2 years and we'll see where you're at. That is Bo Wallace, the former quarterback under Coach Hugh Freeze at Ole Miss. Played there. In case, again, some of you don't know who Bo Wallace is, because this is a popular thing on the internet to try to discredit a person by trying to pretend as if their relevancy is the only thing that allows them a voice. Of course, Bo Wallace would have a lot of input on who Coach Hugh Freeze is as a coach. He played under the man for a couple of years. Here's his career statistics. Bo Wallace was a career 63% passer, threw for 9,534 yards in his career. His season high in passing yards was 3346. He had 41 interceptions in his time, and 62 touchdowns and 41 interceptions in his time in those 3 years. So ratio, not great, right? His career high in interceptions was 17. This is where the whole good Bo, bad Bo comes in. Some games he played great, and other games he threw a bunch of interceptions. And that is eerily similar to what's happening right now. He says exclude the time at Liberty as if that doesn't count for something. I don't really understand that. But Wallace definitely has a perspective here. The question is Bo Wallace right about Coach Hugh Freeze? Right? Is he right about the type of offense that he puts out there contributing to the mistakes that happen routinely from quarterbacks? And I'll answer the question pretty clearly here. I don't think a system contributes to mistakes from quarterbacks. I think choice in quarterbacks and errant play from quarterbacks contributes to issues with quarterbacks. I don't think there's anything wrong with the design or the scheme of what Coach Hugh Freeze is asking his quarterbacks to do. What I do believe, though, sometimes is Coach Hugh Freeze picks the wrong quarterbacks and sticks with those quarterbacks because they've shown an ability to be able to do the right thing sometimes. And he hopes that they trend in the directions toward, or excuse me, away from the negative things that happen out there on the football field, which are turnovers. And unfortunately, Bo Wallace was a guy who was bipolar in that way. And I hate to use the word bipolar to try to speak of like his mental capacity, but I am going to come back to that in just a minute. Bo Wallace was a guy who was up and down. Every now and then he'd look amazing. And then you'd have games where inexplicably he would not do some of the things that you saw him do previously, and you had to wonder what's going on here. Why is he incapable of reproducing this good stuff on a consistent basis? I don't think, my opinion, never played a single down for Coach Hugh Freeze, never been in a locker room with him, never coached on a staff with him, none of those things. Bo Wallace 100% has a better perspective on this, but I don't personally think Coach Hugh Freeze does a poor job in offensive scheming. In fact, in Bo Wallace's own words here, that he said in this statement that he put out on Twitter just recently, his offense helped me tremendously put up numbers when I blew my shoulder out. So the offense helps him put up numbers, but at the same time, that same offense contributes to the interceptions somehow. When the difference between those numbers that he put up and the interceptions are decisions that the quarterback made, not the coach putting him in a bad position, the quarterback making bad decisions. Now, the portion of this that I think I want to highlight that he says that I think is valid is maybe him going out there and being medicated and playing during that time. Was Coach Hugh Freeze encouraging this, or did he ask Bo, "Hey, do you want to play?" And Bo said, "Hey, listen, I'll do whatever I got to do, and I'm going to be out there because I want to be show up for my team." Is that a Coach Hugh Freeze decision, or is that a Bo Wallace decision? Because if Coach Hugh Freeze is like, "No, you're playing, just go figure it out," that's Coach Hugh Freeze. But you have to, Bo Wallace has to ask himself if at any point in time did he say, "No, coach, I'm not doing this. I'm not going out here playing like this. I could be damaging my shoulder even further," or whatever he was getting treatment for. And he could say, "I don't want to go out there and risk it this game." And Coach Hugh Freeze have to deal with that. Because if he never did that, then how are you blaming the coach for that? And this is not a Coach Hugh Freeze apology tour. This is a Bo Wallace, what are you talking about? Conversation. Because I do think that there are things that you can blame Coach Hughes Freeze for under his tenure. The decision making of the quarterbacks on a play, not one of them. The decision to play a specific quarterback or stick with a particular quarterback, fair. Definitely within the purview of something that you can land on the coach's shoulders. Leaning into passing the ball when it's not working, maybe in the case of here at Auburn, when he has an opportunity to lean on a running back room, a running back specifically in Jarquez Hunter, who he has said that was one of the best running backs he's ever coached before he played it down. He understands the unique athletic abilities of that guy, and maybe he's just not accustomed to being able to lean into that guy a little bit more, and putting the ball in the hands of the quarterback and saying, "Hey, you make some of these decisions," and that has not panned out well. Maybe you could blame him for that, but to try to say interceptions are the coach's fault as if there weren't open players on a lot of those plays and the quarterback made a decision to go elsewhere with the football, can't go there with you, Bo. I can't agree with you. But let's bring up one other thing that I think is odd because he goes on at the end, and we already read this, but I'm going to read it one more time. Not going to sit here and fight with Auburn fans. Hitch your wagons to him and see what happens. I did it one time too. Holler at me in 2 years and we'll see where you're at. Well, Bo, we did take note of things that you've said in the past regarding Coach Hugh Freeze, and I want to read you an excerpt from Bo Wallace. Last year, after the New Mexico State game, not 2 years later, maybe he's saying he hitched his wagons to him at one point in time, and this is what he's referring to. I don't know if he's talking about his playing career or if he's talking about this in specific. But after the New Mexico State game, Bo Wallace on Twitter says, stating the fact y'all got by New Mexico State. Your own fans are trying to run him off in reference to Coach Hugh Freeze. That guy is a top 5 play caller in the country and the best culture builder I've ever seen in my life. I repeat, that guy is a top 5 play caller in the country and the best culture builder I've ever seen in my life. Y'all are the ones that don't even know what you have. The facts are you got beat by New Mexico State last week. So now I'm confused. Is Coach Freeze this toxic, glory hogging guy who throws his players under the bus and doesn't create the environment that players would want to play for, that you would want your son to go play for? Or is he a top five play caller in the country and one of the best culture builders he's ever seen? Those two statements, less than a year apart, don't seem to align with one another. And so I have to ask the question, what changed? Why now is he always throwing players under the bus and never taking accountability for losses and only trying to get to his additional money that he gets for wins? But last year, the best culture builder you've ever seen, top five play caller. You still admit, even this year, his offense helped you put up a bunch of great numbers. But in the same breath, you say his offense was also contributory to you throwing a bunch of interceptions. And that has been the case for all quarterbacks, well, except for Liberty, because that doesn't count. I'm left confused by Bo Wallace and his takes. Again, less than a year apart. The Mexico State game hasn't even been 12 months. So I don't really know what to make of Bo Wallace's sentiments and where he stands with Coach Hugh Freeze and how his opinion has so drastically pivoted from what it was just some 10 months ago. And so that is a question that maybe Bo Wallace needs to answer for himself. However, I want to hear what you all's thoughts are. Is there any credence to what Bo Wallace is saying? Like, let's you know, is there an explanation you can come for the variance in the two coming from the exact same person? And these two things are absolutely contradictory. Let's be clear. There's no way that these two things exist in the same universe coming from the same person, and you don't see them as a stark contradiction. So you either fall on one side or the other. But you can't take Bo Wallace. Now he's eliminated himself. Let's go back to where I started this. Yes, he is absolutely qualified to speak on the situation. But now you've kind of eliminated yourself as someone who has credence in the conversation by directly contradicting yourself. So we're left to ask the question, which of these two things is the reality, or does it exist somewhere in the middle? That's what I want to know from you all right down here in the comment section. What are your thoughts on what Bo Wallace had to say then and now? And what are your thoughts on Coach Hugh Freeze and how he exists on that spectrum? Before you guys get out of here, make sure you like this video, comment on the video, subscribe to the channel. We'll be back at you with a lot more great content right here from the War Report. But until the next time, and as always, War Eagle.